having me. Just to get it straight, you would like me to speak for about 30 minutes. Is that right? And take up Q&As later?
Yes, ma'am. You can go ahead with 30 minutes and then we'll have the questions.
May I also have the rights to share my presentation if I can be made a host or a co-host? So hi everybody, happy Sunday to everybody. I usually don't work on Sundays. It's my personal wellness mantra, but I like being part of places where I can learn from people, especially youngsters, because it really adds to my cognitive bandwidth, I believe. So the exchange is going to be mutual. If possible, I'm going to see if it's possible for you all to participate via the chat. So I'm going to share some questions like, can you just write one or two? And, that would possibly make it a little bit interactive. So you could raise your hand, or I may not be unmuting you right away, but then, we'll definitely consider some of those. Just sharing my PPT to begin with. 1 second. So what did the topic essentially mean to some of the people? Digital cocaine. Thoda sa khukhar hai na? It's a little out there, as I say. The topic in itself is the word cocaine gets a lot of people interested to know more, and it gets them intrigued that what's going on here. Right. So I think the chat option is something I want to open, and perfect. Now I can talk to you all. Can everybody see my screen? Can somebody give me a thumbs up for that? Yeah?
Yes, we can see it.
Perfect. And are you able to see my chat window as well? Otherwise, if it's distracting, then we'll stop it. Right. So first and foremost, welcome to this lovely Sunday where we're going to interact and we're going to try to learn from each other. Just 1 second. Yeah. So let me reintroduce myself very briefly. My name is Dr.Era Dutta. I'm a doctor by day. I'm also a mommy 24/7. That's my full-time job. And I go by the pronouns she, her. I'm a psychiatrist. I'm an MD psychiatry, a DNB psychiatry after my MBBS. I do practice a hell of a lot of CBT in my practice. So unlike a lot of what a common myth is there about psychiatrists that we don't know how to do therapy, we actually get a fair amount of training. It's just that most of us don't end up pursuing it very actively or brushing it up or spending that much time. So I am very happy to say that I came from practice. My professor introduced us to the principles, and I somehow in some or the other way end up executing it in my practice even today. So that way I feel like psychology, psychiatry go hand in hand very much. I'm also a mental health ninja, meaning that I like to fight, not crime, but myths about mental health, especially on my Instagram, on my social media. But I'm not only going to show you all the good things that I do in life. I'm actually going to share a confession out here on YouTube, which is probably not going to be very nice, but I have a problem, and a real problem for that matter. It's a very big problem. I actually have an addiction, which I'm not very proud of, but I do have an addiction to technology. And that's something that I know comes probably as, oh, that's not a big deal. It's okay. So what? Why? She didn't give such a big revelation. But that's why it's called the digital cocaine. A, because it's addictive, and B, because it's so common nowadays that most of us are going like, acha, theek hai, it's not a very big deal. In this 21st century, almost every age group is starting to get addicted in some or the other form when it comes to technology. And that's why I took this topic of behavioral addictions, because it's very intriguing. It was something that I started pursuing since my master's, since my MD program, and then went on to do a lot of research, a lot of in-depth research as well, inwards and outwards in the form of published studies and everything. So I'll just, through the whole 20 minutes, try to share some of that. So why bother? First and foremost, okay, we're all using a technology. You're using a technology to reach out to me right now, aren't you? So what's the biggie? But the truth about technology is that it's both a boon and a bane. It is the need of the hour to address how much is too much. Our OPDs are right now, outpatient departments, our clinics are filled with children and adults both doing this to their phones. Snubbing or fubbing has become the new norm. So many parents drag in their young ones saying that, oh, could you please talk to him or her, because I believe that, they're spending too much time on cell phone. And well, lo and behold, the parent itself is spending so much time on the cell phone. It's causing relationship issues, it hampers productivity, and it can cause issues in the future. And if you ask me, seriously, is it that bad? I think some of this will make sense to you all, that this is how at night you'd find a lot of us sneaking in, just trying to send that one last message or that one last speak, ignoring each other on tables at dinner or, during meals, and constantly handcuffed to our cell phones. It needs to be in arm's length, arm's reach, no matter what, just no matter what, it needs to be there. Who is at risk for these addictions? Individuals who are young, come across as lonely and isolated, may have a lot of emotions going on, like boredom or anger or anxiety. So to just fulfill that void, people who live in the concrete jungle like us, people who don't execute too much time in other coping strategies like exercising, painting, doing them something for themselves. Poor routine, individuals who identify as being stressed or having comorbid anxiety, depression, substance abuse. I'm sorry, I think I practically just literally described almost all of us at some or the other point. So, who is really at risk? All of us. You are at risk. I'm at risk. I self profess at the start that I may be addicted. I've felt addicted at times. I felt chained at times. So, we're all at risk. And that's why this topic is so relevant to all of us. So, what are behavioral addictions? They're non-substance, which means substances are essentially alcohol, nicotine, caffeine, opioids, drugs, any kind of medication that somebody gets addicted to, or for that matter, painkillers. These are called substance addiction. But other than that are called non-substance addiction. And in that also specifically, there is behavioral addiction, which is addiction to a rewarding non-drug related behavior. So it could be even exercise for that matter. But we're focused today not only on any behavior, but categorically digital or technological addiction, which is actually a subtype of behavioral addiction. So this was proposed by Griffiths, and he said that behavioral addiction, which involves human and machine interaction and is non-chemical in nature, is the one which qualifies as technological or digital addiction. All right. Now, I would like to say that neurobiologically, interestingly, both substance and non-substance addictions have similarities. They may not be exactly the same, but they have similarities. So there's serotonin involved, there's dopamine involved. When you do these studies on their CSF, you can see that individuals with more sensation-seeking or impulsive behavior are likely to be more prone to addiction to even non-chemical, which means behavioral addiction and specifically technological addiction. So dopamine reward theory, I say dopamine is a good chemical. It's our best friend and our worst enemy. Too much, too little, that's one problem. And when we get addicted, we get onto a dopamine loop. That's the reason why you find yourself hooked to one more reel, one more text, one more YouTube video, or one more Netflix series. So, what are the common technological addictions? What is dopamine? That's a question that I'm being asked. Dopamine is a neurochemical in the brain. There are many chemicals in the brain. Serotonin is a common one. Then dopamine is a common one. Oxytocin is there. Adrenaline is there. Like that, there are many chemicals in the brain. And dopamine is the one that you feel when you feel motivated, when you feel rewarded, when you feel that surge. So that's the dopamine chemical. Now, I have a question to ask from y'all, and I would like it in chat that most of y'all reply. How many gadgets of these do you all own? Are you the proud owner or the sad captive of more than two on the screen? So that's a cell phone, that's another cell phone, so more than one cell phone. Television, Alexas, your iPads or your digital screens, your desktop, and your Apple Watches or any Fitbit watches. So please type in the chat box, how many gadgets do you have of your own at the moment, at least around you for that matter? More than two? So I'm getting 3, I'm getting 4, I'm getting 2, I'm getting 1, 4, but you only use some 3. A lot of people saying 3, 2. Excellent. I'm glad that so many people are saying more than 2, because honestly, I'm guilty to have many of these. So I don't feel very bad anymore. So a lot of us have been the sad captives or the proud owners of these gadgets. And we think more the merrier, right? Now, internet addiction in itself is one of the most common addiction out there. In fact, there is so much evidence about it now because it started about 10 years back when I was still in med school, where they started researching it. In fact, a little more than 10 years for that matter. This paper's from 1996. I was probably a kid and not in school that time. But Kimberly S. Young has done some tremendously good work when it comes to internet addiction. It is real, guys. It's not a bad habit. It's not in your head. Sachai hai. This is true for all good reasons. There are validated scales that you can look up on the internet, like Internet Addictive Disorder Scale, Internet Addiction Test. Then there's Chen Internet Addiction Scale. Then there's a Problematic Internet Use Questionnaire. There's so many scales that can be used to evaluate either for your research. I know this is a career summit, so I'm trying to also bring in the angle of what you can potentially study or what you potentially can do when it comes to your career in the future. So you can study these things. You can use it with your clients. All of these evidences exist out there and they've been validated. Cell phone overuse is a kinder term used instead of saying mobile phone addiction. And that is obviously, like I said, I have two right here with me and I'm talking on my laptop. So clearly I have three already. So cell phone overuse is a very common thing as well. A study from Stanford showed that more than 200 iPhone using students, of them, 10% admitted to being fully addicted to their iPhones. In fact, they even used the stats back then from the iPhone to see how much time somebody was spending. And 41% said it would be a tragedy to lose their phone. 6% said, no, I'm not addicted at all. And 34% were cited as almost addicted. Sleeping next to the phone, a very common occurrence, isn't it? So under our pillow is our phone. It shouldn't be, but it is. And 69% more likely said that they're likely to forget their wallet, but not their phone. Now, I want everybody to type in the chat box why if they sleep next to their phone. So let's see how many of you all actually fit into this 75%. Type why in the chat box if you actually sleep with your cell phone. Some whys, good, good. Wow, a lot of people fessing up. I'm proud of you all. This is called good insight. For alarm, it doesn't matter the reason. So in fact, the alarm being away from you is going to make you forcefully get out of the bed versus the alarm being so close to you on the side table. Okay, fine. So it shouldn't be within the arm's length is what I mean to say. Does it count if it's on the table? Okay, great replies, guys. It's really nice when you all participate because it gets the whole flow going that how many of you relate to this. 1 in 8 people are addicted to their smartphones, and the more we use them, the worse it gets. That's the reality right now. I'm sorry, I'm just going to try to shift this somewhere and it's coming in the way. Yeah. So the moment the chat box keeps going, then this thing gets disturbed. Smartphone addiction is very evident when it comes to especially the adolescent. And this is an Indian subcontinent study. Now, I like to show studies as proofs because I'm a very evidence-based person. And I strongly believe that just because maine bol diya and you should believe it, that's not how life should be, right? We should question everything. We should look for proof and everything. Moving on, there have been so much advancement again, just like I said, for internet addiction, even for mobile phone addiction. So there are validated scales, there are studies, people are getting more aware about it. The ICD is formulating diagnostic criteria about it. The DSM has made some stipulations about research purposes. Companies are getting more aware. I'm sorry if some of these terms like DSM, ICD may not sound relatable, but if you step into the field of psychology, they will all become very, very much your bread and butter for every day. The new terms is something which have started getting coined, and that's the one I want to introduce you to. In fact, I did a post on my Instagram Reels today just about this, phubbing. Phubbing is when you're snubbing somebody because of your cell phone. So you're ignoring somebody because you're so deep into your cell phone that you're just busy. There's nomophobia, which, as the name says, no mobile phobia. And these are jargons which have gotten very popular amidst the millennials and post-millennials. So these are terms you may have heard loosely in and around. So 1 second. Yeah, right. So this is typically all of us at this moment, aren't we? We're all standing next to each other and we're all looking into our cell phones. So really, are the smartphones making us smarter or not so smart? I'm not very sure, because there's so many cases of accidents of even the driver doing that, even the person, pedestrian crossing the road doing that. And if you've been guilty for walking up the stairs, down the stairs, around your house with your cell phone in your hand, you know that you're maybe borderline addicted right now. With great phones come great apps. And that's the truth. We all want the nice phone. We all have the WhatsApp right now. So again, some truth bomb questions, and let's see. Do you check your WhatsApp every time you get an alert? People just type yes, why in the chat box to see whether you all do that or not. No, good, why, yes, no, no, no. Wow, so many no's. I'm really liking this. Yes, no, yes, no. Every alternate is yes, every alternate is no. Lovely. Great, great, great. Okay, time out, time out. Next question. Do you check your WhatsApp the first thing in the morning? I think this may be no, because nowadays people check Instagram first thing in the morning. But do you check your WhatsApp first thing in the morning? Yes, yes. Insta first. Thank you for writing that. Yes, yes, yes. So many yeses. Right. And the dreaded last scene, guys. When you know that your partner, your friend, or someone that you are really close to left you on and typing, or you know what time they were awake till, but they didn't reply back to you, that's a recipe for disaster in itself, isn't it? So, lines of how much WhatsApp people use are getting blurry these days, to be very honest. And about this whole technology, things are getting out there and blurry. My next favorite technological addiction to talk about is this. Clearly, it's selfie. And the reason why I'm so interested in talking about selfie addiction is it comes from personal interest. I like taking selfies. I am a selfie taker, self-proclaimed one. I don't feel shy in that. One time I realized, oh my God, I may be taking too many. And thereafter, I decided to do something good about it and get into research about it. So during my senior residency, when I was in Sion Hospital in Mumbai, I decided to pitch it to my boss then that, so do you think that we should study this selfie taking whole thing is happening? People are dying on the rail tracks while taking dangerous selfies, and so much is happening. Do you think we should study it? And he was very intrigued. He said, yeah, definitely. So, first question being, now, if many of you thinking that are selfies even popular? Is anybody even still doing that? Yes, they're definitely popular amidst the masses. This is actually a chimp who took his own selfie in a zoo, grabbed a tourist's camera and took it the way the tourists were taking it. Somebody's written, people are mad. That's not a kind thing to say. We refrain from using these extreme terms, please. So selfies are popular amidst the masses. Selfies are popular amidst animals. Selfies are popular amidst presidents and prime ministers. You can see that. Definitely, Oscars have it all for selfies. And there are out of the world selfies as well. So that led me to study selfies in depth. And this was the first ever study from the Indian subcontinent, which was about attitude towards selfies. And we categorically studied urban school going youth in Mumbai school. These are my co-authors. Some of them are my friends. Some of them are my senior professors. And we did it at Sion Hospital. I'm not going to bore you with the entire dynamics of the study, but if you're interested, you can go online, type my name, Dr.Era Dutta, type the word attitude towards selfie, and it's published in PubMed, which is the centralized database where all good publications are essentially put up. But just to share a gist of what was there, we studied about 248 children, and of them we found, when we asked them, do you agree and approve that it's good to take regular selfies? And more than 22.2 said yes, hell yes. Whereas 11.3 said hell no, absolutely disagree. Similarly, we asked them what portals or how many portals do you post your selfies on? And more than 4 portals were used by 46.1. So it's not just Instagram. They would post it on Facebook. They would post it on Pinterest. It's Me was back then, actually. Snapchat and so many more. Similarly, we said, how many average selfies do you take in a day? And more than 4 selfies a day were taken by 16.5% in our study group. After this study has been used by many people from India, from Pakistan, from Nigeria. A lot of people reached out to us to share the scales and to share our questionnaires. And It's gotten really important that, this topic was studied very well across the countries, across the worlds. And when we said that, do you feel that people who take selfies are wasting their time? Well, a big chunk of us said, yes, we do, but still we take selfies. So next comes my favorite addiction, which, like I said at the start, that I may be getting addicted, is to social media. Now, COVID may be making social media addiction worse. And this is a very latest article that I found for that matter. There's a basic impact which is happening on social media. It requires some intervention right away. This is Kendall Jenner. For those of y'all know who Kendall Jenner is, she's a supermodel. She's one of the sisters of Kim Kardashian. So she's in the Kardashian show. And she herself self-professedly spoke about her anxiety about the problematic social media use, because May was the mental health awareness month. So she spoke about it quite openly. And that's good that more and more people are coming out and speaking about it. Next is video games addiction. Any video game fans in the crowd out of the 120 people? Give me a yes if you like video games, if you like spending time, if you like, playing your PUBG or multiplayer games, Discord, whatever it may be. No, no, why, no. Okay. So it's a mixed crowd out here. Once upon a time, I used to love it. Honestly, now I think I've slowed down a little. However, yes, they're very addictive. They work on the reward theory. You try one level, you fail one level, then they kind of give you a bait, and then you come back. If you achieve in a level, then you go up a level. So do you see what the reward is? Sometimes they give you coins. Sometimes they give you, oh, if you clear this level, then definitely the next level, you're going to be able to buy this. So it's damn addictive. This was an article where I was interviewed to ask about PUBG when it was banned. And I know it's been some time now, but they asked me like about PUBG. And honestly, at that time, I was seeing about 2 to 3 youngsters in a week brought by their parents. And the parents were all complaining about PUBG. And I'll be honest, one child even told me, why don't you join in, doctor? You look kind of cool. You can play it. And I was tempted, but I chose not to, better sense. However, yeah, playing once in a while is not a problem. You must find ways to, video games are very good for your eye and hand coordination, for memory, for so many things, but excess is the bad thing. So the good, the bad, and the ugly. This is my favorite thing about technology. It has the good, it has the bad, and it has the ugly. So the negative outcome of digital addiction is quite evident, guys. We all know that it can affect our physical aspect of the body. So our postures are like this all day. Our eyes get affected with all of this. Our health gets affected. Mentally, we know that we get isolated, anxiety, depression. At night, we're scrolling, so we're not really doing anything except for avoiding sleep. It's called revenge bedtime procrastination. Emotionally, we know that sometimes we get jealous and comparative of seeing something on social media that, wow, she's got so many more likes, she's got so many people following, wow, living the life, enjoying. There's a lot of discontentment that may happen. There's a lot of guilt. Why did I waste so much time? Why did I sleep so late? There's so much stress and so much more. But here's something that I'm going to share with you, which is going to possibly change the way you look at it so far. So this is a very recent study conducted at Oxford, where they studied teens, tech, and mental health. And this is the outcome, that there remains little association between technology use and mental health problems. And they studied a very large group of population. So eventually they said that, yes, it has some impact, but not as negative as we have been making it. And they said that we couldn't tell the difference between social media impact and mental health in 2010 and 2019. We're not saying that fewer happy people use more social media, but we are saying that the connection is not getting any stronger. So even though in the last 9 years, the technological use has certainly gone up, but they're not saying that definitely this is leading to some kind of mental health hazards. So then what is the truth? Doctor, you wasted my half an hour telling me that technology is bad, and now you're telling me technology is good and there are no side effects on mental health. There are little side effects on mental health. So what is the real truth? Here's my opinion on the real truth. Again, this might not be completely just evidence based, but my opinion. I think anything done in limit is okay. You need to set points and limits which are realistic, and make sure that the technology is not causing you physical issues. You have to be aware, you have to be mindful, and know that too much of anything is bad. Now you'll say, how do I do that? So here's a self check of knowing, are you addicted or not? So I'm going to give everybody a minute on the dot and let you all go through it and put it in the chat box. How many do you have? Do you have craving and urge for your technology, whatever technology, whether it's WhatsApp, internet in some form, whether it's social media, whether it's cell phones? So if you have craving and urge, give yourself score 1. Go to score number 2, which is tolerance, which means that earlier you would spend 30 minutes on social media, but now you need an hour and you kind of need more and more and more. How much time is wasted? That's third point. So if you have 1, 2, and 3, so you have 3 points so far. Next is withdrawal, in which your mood may be irritable. If your mom takes your phone away, or if your partner takes your phone away, you're going to get irritable. You're going to get cranky. If your priorities have changed, you should be studying or working and you're just headed towards your phone. If it started affecting your social life, your work life, your home life, others around you started saying, you're doing too much of this. If you're continuing despite knowing that this is a problem. If you've tried to stay away from your gadgets, but you've not been able to. If it's been harmful use, meaning using the cell phone while crossing the road, perhaps. And finally, if it's caused you restlessness, sleep, and appetite changes, give yourself 1 score for everything. And if you score more than 3 or 4, you may need to consider switching back a little bit. Now, going back, setting your own rules for your own self is a thing that you can do. Let's move from mindless scrolling and mindless technology to mindful technological use, because technology is not going to go anywhere and we have to live with it, but we can't let it drive us. We have to be in charge. So be aware, take charge, take control of how much technology are you using, and are you using the technology or is the technology using you? Also, every now and then go on a dopamine digital detox, which is a fast. So like it's a device fast. So sometimes I just go off social media for a couple of days. Sometimes I just decide to not use my laptop except for the working days, for nothing but just work and no YouTube. And I just read a book instead. So it could be your own way, but going on a digital detox is a very good idea. Next time when you reach out for your cell phone, next time when you open Instagram, here are some questions that I would like you to ask yourself, please. Number 1, why am I resorting to this? Number 2, what does it do for me? Number 3, where does it take me? Number 4, what else could I have done with this time? And finally, is it really taking me away from something else which was my target? Should I have been studying? Should I have been working out? Should I have been talking to my mom? In such answers, you may want to reflect and step away from the device for a bit, at least. Finally, if you are looking for a career in this particular field called behavioral addiction, go for it. There's a lot of scope for research. You'll find a lot of clients. We all have technological issues. You can work on focused intervention programs, a lot of rehab facilities. I've worked at some in Delhi, I've worked at some in Bombay, and there are focused programs when it comes to gadget addiction as a part of their entire thing, especially when somebody comes with drug addiction. We also focus on non-substance addictions as well. And finally, you can also help chalk out detox programs for others and for yourself first. So that's me, that's my time. I hope I managed to squeeze in a lot of information in a little bit of time. I'm open to questions now.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was like an awakening again, just like the movie Social Dilemma did for us.
Yes, I was going to mention it. Then I didn't want everybody to go on to another social media platform and look for more evidence.
No, but even after we watched the Social Dilemma, how much has really changed for us? Like after knowing the truths, we are still there. That is the power of addiction, is what I think.
I agree with you 100%.
Yes. So on the lines of you asking, talking about selfies, there is a question. What do you think? Why do you think people are addicted to selfies? Is it because of the pressure that social media influencers unintentionally put on us?
Okay. So the study that we had done categorically was about two main aspects that are the most correlated with selfies. One is body image. So taking matters in your own hand literally, because a selfie is a picture that you take of your own self and you want to look a certain way. So one is the body image. You want to present your best foot forward, is why selfies are so popular. Number two is we also studied narcissism as a part of selfies, which may not be there, may be there. Some people also use it when they are underconfident to overcome that. So in that case, I consider it's a good thing. So selfie has a lot to do with your own first, and then of course the peer pressure, the societal standards of beauty or how people look at it do matter as well.
Okay. So what do you think is the more plausible idea to completely deprive ourselves from games or play them once in a while?
Balance. That's the key word. I do not ever preach to anybody, whether it's addiction, whether it's sleeping, whether it's OTTs, whether it's social media, to go on a 0 or 100. In balance lies wellness. So you don't drive at 0 because your car is not moving. You don't drive at 100. You drive at about a 40, 50, 60. And titration is the toughest thing, isn't it? But I would recommend you that you figure out what works for you the best. If you do believe that taking the no video game route is a good idea for a while, then why not experiment with it and figure it out?
That's correct. So could the ban of games like PUBG create any kind of digital withdrawal or other health issues in children and adolescents?
When the ban had happened, like even on TikTok, on PUBG, all of that had caused a lot of mass disappointment and a lot of like, oh, what will we do next? But this is the beauty of technology. There's always a next one around the corner. So PUBG was then replaced with something else, and we'll always find something to look forward to. So human beings are clever; they find hacks.
Totally. So, what are the major categories of internet addiction? How have they been recognized by the medical establishments?
Right. So there's a lot of research being done on this. DSM has proposed some guidelines. ICD-11 is making changes in 2022 is when it will come in place, and we'll know a lot more then. But as a broad aspect, the term addiction is being dropped a lot because it's happening to everybody. So they've started using the term problematic use disorder instead of saying addiction, because we're all going to use it, but how much use is a problem and how much use is acceptable, which is unique to everyone, right? So that is the work that they're doing, and maybe as young budding psychologists, you guys can do more work.
Absolutely. So, what is the relationship between regulation, procrastination, and the digital technology? Like, how does one break the procrastination habit due to technology?
Very good question. Something I do every day, which I get asked like 10 times a day. Um, when people come and tell me that I'm procrastinating, my first question is always, what are you doing instead? And the answer is usually technology, right? So clearly the distraction is external. If the distraction is primarily external, you may have to get rid of the culprit for a while. If the distraction is more internal, of course, there are other things as well. There could be ADD, there could be depression, there could be anxiety, and those need to be worked on as well. But the external distraction are the ones that you need to primarily work on. This loop which is there, you're right, the reward theory that I was talking about earlier, and somebody asked what dopamine is. This needs to be paused for a bit, and only after the initial restlessness you start to see something happen within yourself where you'll be like, oh, there's a sense of calm also despite this. So keep trying, keep failing, keep trying again. That's my mantra in life. That's what I do. At least every time I find myself a little hooked, I try to walk away, and then I go back in limitation, I again walk away. So that's how you need to figure out your own style.
So, talking about dopamine, have you come across the term dopamine detox because it's very
I
popular?
wrote it. I wrote dopamine fast, dopamine detox. I wrote it
Yes.
in one of the treatment
So,
strategies. Yeah.
yeah. So, if you can explain more and how people should adhere to practice it in their
Honestly
life.
speaking, you cannot literally do a dopamine detox because it's a chemical in your brain. It's going to be there, right? Even when you're fasting, you can't literally like deprive your body to the point like कि एकदम सब कुछ ही नहीं होगा. So dopamine externally, if you want to go on to a detox or a dopamine fast, we call it a digital fast or dopamine fast, you need to get rid of your technological uh, devices for a set period of time. Some people go for 5 days, some people go for 7 days, some people go for longer. Now, what that means is a lot of them just resort to basic phone calls. Hi, hello, what's going on? Because in today's world, we need to be constantly aware of, and maybe your profession requires you to. I recommend people that when they're on vacation, like when they're actually on vacation, why not take the dopamine fast then? Because instead of being mindfully aware of everything around, you're just busy putting your Instagram updates about, hey, I'm here and I'm doing this. So that's a wonderful time to do a dopamine detox, because your workplace is not going to call you enough. Your friends know where you are, everybody knows, and they don't need to know every second. And you can just mindfully enjoy yourself. So that's how you do a dopamine fast.
So we tend to think that only the younger generation or the teenagers are the ones who are more prone to being addicted. And we know for a fact that our parents or even the older people are very much engaged with technology. And
Absolutely.
how do you think this phenomenon comes in picture with them? Like, misinformation and the whole thing that was going on with WhatsApp University and believing that all the things that come on WhatsApp is true. So how
Correct.
do you think that can be tackled?
So there's a beautiful thing that we do called media literacy, and we do a lot of programs about it. And media literacy is all about teaching young, but I believe it should be for older people also, to know the value where the sources, the information is coming from. Question everything. And that's why in my talk also, I told you, don't believe me. I did not come up with these terms. I'm showing you actually evidence. So look for evidence, find the right links. Like PubMed is a very genuine source. Don't just Google words and look it up. The first link jo aa gaya, this is the right answer. As the part you said earlier, that parents are the ones, or the older generation is getting more hooked, I completely agree with you. So once upon a time, I kid you not, in my practice when I started off 10 years back, the children were brought by the parents that dekhiye, she's too much on the cell phone, she's always doing this. I'm sorry, the tables have reversed. Now the young ones say, but tell mama she's constantly just on the phone. So I think we've come a full circle, haven't we?
We totally have. Like, we can't pick just one good person out. Everyone is just hung to social media and technology. So, in that case, if you could recommend anything to us and the all kinds of generation, we won't just talk about young generation. How can we maintain that balance? At least, how can we start with it?
Start by being aware, mindfulness, because till you're in denial that no, I don't use cell phone enough. And that's why using your phone to tell you, for example, there's so many apps that you can use to monitor your screen time. So right now, today is Sunday, my phone sent me my weekly report and it said it was down by 20%. And I was very proud of myself. I was just tapping myself and saying, good job, good job. The 2 days I tried to go off social media earlier helped. So being aware is number one. Using apps to hack yourself is a great idea. Finding other things to do, which don't involve cell phones or technology as much. So going out for a walk without a device, or exercising with a buddy, even in the house, you can find a buddy, right? Or even just exercising and just looking at the sky and not necessarily looking at a screen. That's another great way. That's time away from cell phone or technology, is basically time, mindfully spent. So these are simple hacks. Everybody can do them. It only starts with, yes, I have a problem. Yes, I need to fix it. And I need to just work on small things.